first, I thought I just wasn't a good person, and I thought I wasn't a good friend because of these thoughts that I had and things I would do impulsively. The way my first therapist explained BPD to me, she said that people with BPD basically have no emotional skin. So, if you blow on someone's arm, like, a regular person won't really feel it, but if you do that to someone with no skin, it's gonna hurt like hell. You feel it, and you feel it really intensely, and then when you feel nothing, you feel that really intensely too. And I think that's one of the hardest parts of BPD, is the feeling of such intense nothingness. The name borderline personality disorder stems from being on the border between neurosis and psychosis. Neurosis is to be anxious and almost too in tune with the world. You notice every small thing, you can get very obsessive and very anxious and very much in your head. As for psychosis, is being disconnected from the world. When you go to a new city and you're walking around and you don't recognize anything. I have days like that where it's I'm in the neighborhood that I've grown up in, I've been here for 10 years, and I'm walking around and I don't recognize anything, and I look at myself in the mirror and I feel like that's not me. I'm not looking at myself, and I'm just, so not in touch with myself or with anything around me, and I feel like I'm living a stranger's life. I had my first psychiatric assessment when I was 15, and although I had all the symptoms, they didn't want to diagnose me yet because I was too young. And I went back 2 years later for my second psychiatric assessment, and that's when they officially diagnosed me, I guess. So I was 17. At the time where I didn't have my diagnosis, I felt like I wasn't mentally ill enough to get the treatment I needed. And I think that's something in our system that really needs to change, because there's a lot of people suffering from a variety of mental health problems, and often we're told, you're young, you have time, you're not doing that bad, so we'll just put you on a wait list and we'll see you in 2 or 3 years. And I was like, wow, I have to feel like this for 3 more years before I can get the help I need. And that was devastating to hear that. A big part of it is trial and error, which is the most annoying part of any process in mental health, is you have to see what works for you, and what works for one person might not necessarily work for the next. Making art brings out things that are subconsciously buried. It helps me understand myself better. A way of communicating with my emotions. When I do art therapy, I work a lot with collages. I'm never really looking for anything when I'm making a collage. I just take things that speak to me. I really like abstract art because it's so subjective, and anyone can get a different understanding of the same painting or the same piece of art. I've had a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms in my life, and I think art is probably one of the healthiest coping mechanisms you can have. When I'm doing it, I know that I'm actively choosing to do something that makes me feel good instead of actively choosing to do something that makes me feel bad. And to be able to do that, to feel like I have control over myself to do that, is a really good feeling. What made me want to pursue art therapy as a career professionally was that it's helped me so much. I want to be able to help people in that same way. My art therapist was the one who told me about the concept of the wounded healer, which is that as someone who's been hurt, you tend to gravitate towards people who are also hurting or who have been hurt because you know what it's like. And I think that's one of the good things about being such an emotional person and feeling things so intensely, that I can empathize with people a really great deal as well. And my empathy has become one of my favorite characteristics about myself, which is something that I used to hate. I used to hate how much I felt for people and how much, because it's heavy, you know. It's heavy to be so impacted by everything everyone does. I haven't always been this high functioning. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of support. I just want to acknowledge that, just because I'm in a good place when I'm doing this right now, when I'm talking and I feel good right now, that doesn't mean that there aren't days where I can't function as a human being. I don't think I'm not the way I should be. I know I am the way I should be. And I am this way because there is no other way for me to be. And that's like a really good feeling to be able to say that and mean it.